Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. Today I want to talk a little bit about my sort of filmmaking journey from first seeing a film and going, oh, that looks fun, the idea of making one of those, to sort of, I guess, where I am now, which is not necessarily making films, but just sort of being in the vicinity of them. And yeah, so I guess we'll start off with me aged, I don't know, 9, right? Watching Jurassic Park, right? And you know that sequence with the trucks, the Jeep, sorry, and dinosaurs coming around wrecking it up, right? Fantastic little set piece, that. And I remember looking at it thinking, I could do this so much better than whoever directed this, right? I didn't even know what a director was. I didn't even know that you directed a film. I thought you just made a film, right? So I sort of looked at it and I thought, one, there's only one dinosaur in it. We could have had more dinosaurs, right? We could have had like 6 T-Rexes and 2 Stegosauruses that are like their allies, right? They're butlers. The T-Rex's butler is the Stegosaurus, and you could just come around and they could use their tail to just sort of whack each Jeep along the way. I thought the more dead people in that film, the better. So it's a very odd place to start, but I presume that's how most childhood sort of minds kind of work. Like, when I was a kid and we would do creative writing, it was my favourite thing. It was my favourite part of school, doing the creative writing bit. And I remember the teacher said, Josh, you are now banned from using the D word being death, because I tended to kill off every character I ever wrote. I just thought that the better a book was, the more characters were dead by the end of it for some reason, which is weird because now I don't particularly like horror movies, like, that slasher horror thing where, you'll start off with 10 characters and there'll be 2 left by the end. Not super into that, so I don't know why that was my basis for what made a good film. No idea, or a good story, but that was what started it off. And so I started writing things. I wrote this screenplay for this, I guess it was like a weird sort of combination of Independence Day and modern day QAnon theories, which I can't remember what it was called, but so in 1964 there was this asteroid or UFO that crash landed in some town in, I think it's Idaho, and so it crashed there in the forest, and there was a journalist in the next town over, who had the stereotypical American journalist sort of hat, the trilby, and probably smoking a cigar, probably talking a little bit like that, right? And it was a fantastic, interesting thing that happened, this asteroid UFO thing coming down. But what made it so interesting was the fact that there was this journalist, and the journalist wasn't allowed to get close to it because the American military got there super, super quickly, and they basically wrapped up this egg-looking thing. It was an egg that crash landed. And they shipped it off somewhere to have a look at it. And that's all that happened in real life. And I managed to turn that into a whole thing where the American government was in cahoots with the alien race to like take and kidnap various people to enslave them on their home planet and use humans as like genetic experiments and stuff like that. So the story was split across a few different things. There was the story is told from the president, so you got the president, okay, this is Independence Day being a rip-off of Independence Day. Then you had your main family, so there was this husband and wife that didn't have a kid, and I think I probably wrote in some dumb shit about the wife being infertile, and then, in the egg that they discovered was this like little robot girl that then they could sort of bond over this. I was 15 when I wrote this, so they bond over the robot girl thing. Oh, there's also the Hugo Weavings from The Matrix. They're in this film. But they had this weird power where they could just like turn the atoms in their hands into whatever they wanted. So what they would do is, say they get to a locked door, right? They would just, and the door would open because the atoms have just maneuvered their way into the keyhole. So, and that's kind of how it worked. That was the idea of this, I feel like a total mentalist, talking about fucking atoms moving in different ways and people being murdered, while people just walking up and down this fucking thing. But anyway, that's kind of where I got my start, was writing that. It came out like I think 130 pages, and then I went back through it and I realized that I'd forgotten to wrap up one of the subplots. There's a character that we were following who was on this alien planet, and she escapes, and I completely forgot to write something that happened with her. Last I saw was she was hiding in a freezer in a supermarket in New York, and then I forgot to put another scene in with her, so she just got forgotten about. And then just to make, because we had to make time for the big set piece finale with sword fights or gun fights or whatever we had. And you know, I took every conspiracy theory under the sun and just wrapped it into this one screenplay. Which, I don't know, I've not gone back to the screenplay. Maybe I will at some point. Not to write it out some more, to ever make it. I don't really care about the story anymore. But maybe, you know, I could do like some kind of reading for fun. You know, maybe find some people like as part of the community. We can all like say like, you're this character, you're this character, you're this character. Just do a Zoom call and just read out the story and just have a laugh of it. Maybe that could be fun. But anyway, that was where I kind of got my start, and by this point I was getting into media, college for media and film studies and stuff. The reason I did that was because originally I was going in for animation and games design, right? Which I thought, oh, that'd be fun, because one of my best mates from childhood was doing the same thing at the same college. I thought, oh, we could be, you know, hanging out together all the time. That'd be cool. But then I did the first hour and a half. And I didn't really love it. I wasn't particularly interested in it. I mean, it was a bit satisfying making the model kind of, I don't know, a bit wibbly wobbly. That was kind of fun. But then I looked up how much animators and stuff get paid, and I started to find out about the exploitation that goes on in the games industry and the animation industry, and how like CGI artists, for instance, are the most fucked over people in all of Hollywood. So much so, what was that thing? What was it, The Life of Pi? That lad who goes out to give a speech about, and then he starts talking about how his studio is literally going under despite the fact that their film is really successful and has won an Oscar, and his mic got shut off and he got escorted off, right? So yeah, no one likes animators apparently is the moral of this. So I thought, right, well, fuck that. So I went to the media side on the other side of the building just for fun, and I thought I'll go in there because I'd done a couple things with cameras. I'd touched cameras before, so I thought, okay, well, I'll do that. And I'd had that thought whilst having a look at Jurassic Park, and I'd vaguely come up with this film screenplay thing. So the second I got accepted into college, I wrote that conspiracy theory Independence Day knockoff, and yeah, I was really into it. And I thought, right, I'm gonna be the next fucking Steven Spielberg, which I've decided by googling Steven Spielberg, because I didn't know who he was before, and looking at his films, going, oh, I recognise Jurassic Park. Oh, I recognise Indiana Jones. Oh, I recognise Star Wars. I didn't even realise that a producer and a director were different things, and that Steven Spielberg wasn't that involved with Star Wars. You know, because the producer is kind of the money man, really. It's not like he had creative input on fucking like what a lightsaber is, or like whether Han Solo should look like that. I don't know. And that wasn't really Steven Spielberg's decision. So that didn't matter. I just thought, I want to be the next Steven Spielberg. Why did I want to be the next Steven Spielberg? Well, because he had loads of films out, some of which were sort of more family friendly, some of which were a bit more intense. And I wanted to have that nice range. I wanted to have some for the kids, some for the adults, some for everyone in between. And that was what I wanted. I wanted to make epics, you know, in the vein of Lawrence of Arabia and Dr. Zhivago and that kind of thing. But realistically, I mean, you can go past here. Yeah, it wouldn't have been that interesting anyway. I mean, I get bored watching like stuff now. Like I don't watch serious TV because it's like one episode after the next, after the next, after the next, and every time you get to the end of an episode, they fucking do a cliffhanger to get you to watch the next episode, and I just think, fuck off, right? So I don't think I'd be interested in doing like super serious stuff now, but at the time I thought that's what I wanted to do. And so I spent a load of time, you know, looking up various filmmaking YouTube channels and courses and things like that so that I could get better at my craft, right? Because the stuff I was making in college looked fucking awful. It was filmed with what were actually quite decent cameras, but somehow everything was overexposed or underexposed or like just grey and flat looking because I didn't bother to color grade it in any way, or to compose an interesting shot, or to, you know, play with dynamics, or to play with like distance between the camera, or to do anything like that, or to try and compose. You see how I'm kind of in the middle? Wouldn't matter. I'd probably just do it like fucking sat over here. Oh, hey everybody, this is the video directed in 2016, because I don't know how to make videos yet, right? There's no effort being put in. Well, there is effort being put in, that's the problem, way too much effort, right? But it's not getting you a good result. So I thought, right, well, I need to get better at this filmmaking thing. So, you know, I found all the basic things that, if you're a media student in the mid to late 2010s, you know what I'm talking about. You know, like Rocket Jump Film School, and like DSLR Film Guide, and D4 Darius, and stuff like that. No Budget Film School, things like that. You know, the YouTube channels and little free courses and stuff like that, where they generally try and get you to pay for something, but you never do. And you wonder, who the hell is actually paying for this stuff? And they keep showing it, so it must be doing something, right? And you know, I'm at that stage now where I seem to be becoming one of those kind of YouTubers. I'm not super technical about it. I'm not really interested in making like, here's a guide on shot composition, because realistically I don't know how to compose a shot very well. So I think it would be a bit stupid for me to come on and be like, here's how you compose a shot. I mean, I could do, here's how you white balance, set it to about 5,600 Kelvin, right? If you're outside, and you'll be fine, right? 5,600 Kelvin is basically what everything looks like, right? At all times. So just set it to that. And if you're indoors, set it to auto. I know they say don't do that, but I don't know, it's like, the worst thing that happens if you get the white balance wrong is it's just more of a pain in the ass color grading it. But it's not like you can't. It's not like it like irredeemably fucks the footage or anything. It just becomes a pain to like redo it. So it's not really a massive problem. I mean, you can turn whites into purples. You can turn purples into I don't know, beige. You know, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want with these things. So that's white balance sorted. Shot composition, God knows. That's just based off of vibe, really. I don't know. If it looks good, it looks good. And use your eyes more than, you know, following the numbers. What else? Probably don't get too caught up in trying to make your film look professional, because have you ever enjoyed a film because it looked professional? I understand that, you know, it's good for things to look professional. It helps with your CV and stuff. But you can get that stuff working on other people's films. You can get professional looking stuff working on someone else's film who cares more about looking professional. What you should be interested in is trying to make something that's, you know, engaging in some way, that someone might give a shit about for some real reason outside of, oh, I make pieces of content and this person also makes pieces of content. I'm going to watch what they do so that I can study it, right? You don't want to make stuff just for those kind of people. You want to make stuff for a general audience, and a general audience isn't sitting there going, oh, the white balance is wrong on this. Obviously, if things are like irredeemably fucked and if things just look bad, that's not good. But look at like David Brent's The Office, right? It looks like shit, right? It was filmed on crappy little digicams. In fact, the pilot for The Office was a final major project for Stephen Merchant when he went to film college in 1996 or whatever, right? It was a final major project, right? My final major project looked better than The Office, right? It didn't get made into an award-winning, you know, TV series with an American remake that also won the same award, but, you know, it could have. I mean, it definitely couldn't have, but it could have. It definitely couldn't have. It was a load of shite. Our final major project in school was, I'm going to do a full video about it actually, but to preface it, basically, they said, right, you need to do a final major project, you need to make some kind of awareness campaign thing about alcoholism, right? Me and my mate, we looked at each other, we were like, right boys, this is a great excuse to get pissed. Right? We were still 17, we had to use my mate who had a big bushy beard, he'd go in and get the beers and stuff, because even though he was 17 as well, he looked like he was about 30 years old. So it was very handy having him around. Don't drink underage, not condoning it, although I don't massively regret it in any way, so fuck it. Right, that's that bit. And then I guess look, when I sort of took a lot of the lessons from these, you know, film influencers, filmmaker influencers that I kind of found on social media adjacent to my college, it was interesting seeing the contrast between what was being taught in real life and what was being taught via the internet, and seeing the way that those kind of come together. Because generally, YouTubers are American. Like, it's always an American thing, because there's more Americans than there are British, right? So you're more likely, if you're going to find someone that speaks English, they're more likely to be American, right? By like a 5-to-1 ratio, right? So what did I list? D4 Darius, Rocket Jump Film School, No Budget Film School. And there's this one, I can't remember the name of it, but he was really good. He did these really long videos where he had this big touch iPad thing, and he would get the shot up for whatever film he was talking about on the iPad thing, and he would draw little circles around like the details, and he would like talk about what light might have been where and what camera they might have used or what kind of diffuser they would have used here and there. But he took it all down because he wanted to turn it, like, the channel into a brand. And looking back with hindsight, I don't know why he didn't just start a new YouTube channel and make that the brand. I mean, I understand that he wanted to keep all the subscribers and the audience base, but the audience base was there for those kind of videos, not the corporate stuff that he started doing afterwards. But I think he found a way to balance it and do it well. So, I mean, I don't remember what the fuck the guy was called. So if it's, and plus all the stuff's archived anyway. But if anyone knows who I'm talking about, I think he was like an Asian American, like South Korean American. And he sat in this sort of white, modern kind of bedroom looking thing with a wooden desk, with a big iMac and a big sort of iPad thing. And he would draw, you know, one of them touch iPads that like digital artists like to use. He had one of those, and he would just draw like over screenshots of various films, and he tended to do like modern trendy films. This is when like Interstellar was a new film and stuff like that. So he would do that kind of thing. And that was quite interesting. That I liked those. They were quite soothing because they were quite like low on editing. It wasn't like, you know, fast-paced editing or anything like that. It was kind of like what these videos are really at the end of the day. And yeah, that was where I sort of got my influences from in terms of like learning filmmaking, right? And when I sort of went back and had a look at a lot of this stuff, I don't know, it's not that I found myself disagreeing with things. It was like a lot of it is quite basic, just here's what you should be doing. But like there's some stuff where they try and sort of make it out like you need to look professional, you need to chase equipment, you need to have this and do this and work in this fashion in order to create, right? I think they're saying that, right, because they want to get, you know, portfolios together so that they can get higher paying work and that kind of thing. But they don't go into that side of it in their videos. So they're just teaching you how to look more professional whilst claiming it's how to be a better filmmaker. And it's not, it just means that you're a better advert videographer, right, rather than an actual better filmmaker. Because I think a lot of the best films out there don't have the best cinematography, right? I mean, I've used it in a few examples now, but Crank is one of my favourite films, and it certainly doesn't look professional. You can go past if you want, yeah, it's fine. So, yeah, that film doesn't look professional at all. And, you know, there are certainly films out there that have, like, good-looking cinematography, and certainly, I mean, it's not like Crank wasn't a professional film set by any stretch of the imagination. You look at the behind the scenes, and it was clearly a high-budget thing. But, I don't know, I'm not enamored with a lot of it, because a lot of it is just film language. And what is film language? It's, you know, language, and language evolves in the way that is, you know, most convenient and useful for people to use. I mean, we don't talk in a Victorian dialect because it would be inconvenient, right? It's just stuffier and more formal, and means we have to put more effort into enunciating, and in 150 years we'll probably mumble even more. I mean, from our perspective, that sounds like shit. Oh, I don't want that to happen. But realistically, you're not going to be around in 150 years, so it doesn't impact you. So people who are born in 150 years' time who talk like that won't mind. And they'll look at the way we talk now, the way that we look at the people that, like Charles Dickens, for instance, who talks a little bit stuffy, right? So, yeah, that's how film language kind of is. I mean, you look at films from, you know, the 1930s or 40s, and they're shot a bit different, you know, compared to say films from now. There's a lot less, you know, handheld. Everything's pretty much on a tripod. Maybe there's a bit of, you know, dolly movement or a bit of tilting or panning with the tripod. But there's not, you know, like the Jason Bourne sort of thing, right? Anything like that. Because, I mean, cameras were just so big then, and now we have phones that do everything for us. So, I mean, we could start, once film cameras and stuff get better and better and better, we start using these things, right? How much better are our films going to look, right? Once these cameras are able to do what that camera that's filming me is doing. That camera, by the way, is like bigger than my face, right? So that should give you an idea on how they're going to turn that, which is making this shot here, which I think looks quite good, into something that could make this shot here, it could make it on this instead, right? I don't know why I had to word it in the most awkward way possible, right? But alongside being able to film stuff, it would also be able to do all the other things that a phone can do, and all the things that a phone will be able to do in the future that we can't even fathom now, right? And all of that will, you know, play into the evolution of the cinematic language, which will go in a direction of which I cannot tell. I mean, I wasn't able to foresee TikTok, for instance. I mean, I thought Vine was just going to be a one and done deal, but it turns out it just kept going. And I don't particularly like the idea of TikTok style things being the future of, you know, visual entertainment, but I think they will be. So, you know, look at, on a show, I don't know, the latest TikTok trend to someone in 1935, right, who's used to watching Laurel and Hardy. Show them some TikTok, right, and just watch them go, what is this? All people from the past talk with a bad French accent, that's how it works. And yeah, that's kind of going to be the video. It's a general kind of overview on my story with filmmaking, and I guess the evolution of my attitude towards filmmaking and where I sort of went with things and that kind of thing. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you know, you can relate to this if you're a filmmaker and you do this kind of thing as well. Let me know what you think in the comments below about you know, making films, and particularly if you're a filmmaker that got their start in, you know, going to media, you know, film school or media college in, you know, the mid to late 2010s, because if that is the case for you, you might be able to relate to what I'm saying. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Take care, and bye-bye. I don't know why, but this video feels like it feels like it's one of the first videos on this channel. If you go on the channel and sort by oldest, this feels like one of those, but it's not. I'm recording this in April. The channel's been going on for ages. It'd be like Pink Floyd doing like Saucer Full of Secrets in 1988. It just wouldn't make sense. Not saying, by the way, that my current other videos are like a momentary lapse of reason, right? They're like the 2022 remix of a momentary lapse of reason, without the Dogs of War, or whatever the fuck that other song's called, the instrumental. Terminal slip, terminal velocity, terminal something, doesn't matter.